this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face. Blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Sights to show you. We'll tear your soul apart.
When you come in on Monday and you're not feeling real well, does anyone ever say to you, sounds like someone has a case of the Mondays?
No. No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
Huh.
Rock and roll!
6 o'clock already, it was just in the middle of a dream. I was kissing Valentino by a crystal blue Italian stream. But I can't be late, cause then I guess I just won't get paid. These are the days when you wish your bed was already made. It's just another manic Monday. I wish it was Sunday, cause that's my fun day. I don't have to run late. It's just another manic Monday. I wish it was Sunday, cause that's my fun day. It's just another manic Monday.
Death curse!
Sports.
Do it, Colonel!
Just do it. Zag. No, hold on. Back up. Zag, do it. Then I'll.
This is actual audio from the Colonel moments after the AFC Championship.
We're going to the fucking Super Bowl!
That's right, baby. Hooray! God damn it. I'm fucking pumped. 2 more weeks. 2 weeks I gotta wait for this shit. but that's okay. I'm 37. I was 4 the last time they fucking made it. This doesn't even feel real. The Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl. What?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I grew up in the 90s.
the fucking Super Bowl!
That's right. Like I didn't remember a playoff game until 2005. I was 21. Okay, I was a little fucking Bengal fan. Jeff Blake and Quake, fucking Carl Pickens.
Did you know that the last time the Cincinnati Bengals made the Super Bowl was in Pontiac, Michigan?
I did not know that. Just fucking Joe Montana.
San Francisco 49ers. Yes, sir.
I was really pulling for San Francisco last night. I was like, fuck them, let's get them. But I'll take the Rams. I like our chances.
I'm not sure you wanted San Francisco, man, but I don't know, dude. Whatever Rams team shows up, I think Cincinnati has shown that they can grind, man. And when their defense got hot, dude, it was all over. Kansas City had nothing left for them,
That's right. I told you guys, 2 fucking years ago? 2.5 years ago? Oh, that's my quarterback. Watching Joe Burrow. That's my quarterback. He fucking
I remember.
Year 2. What the fuck, man?
Here we are.
We're going to the fucking Super Bowl!
All right.
I should have added that, but I was too excited.
We're going to hear a lot of that today.
Oh, yeah. That's enough of that for right now, though. Congratulations, Colonel, though. Congratulations to the Bengals. And, I've got nothing. Like I said last week, I was cheering for him, even though my Chiefs were there. But that's all right.
I will say this has been some of the best playoff football I've seen in fucking years, man. So it's, yeah. But one more time on behalf of the Colonel.
Pardon my French, but
We're going to the fucking Super Bowl!
that worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Oh, good Lord. All right. Looks like Dave's in the house. We got Flet Lives. Welcome back, Flet. Tyrone's here. Tanya. Dave. Uh-oh, Dave. I feel like a big bag of shit, but here I am.
Dude, you don't
Hope you don't have the virus, brother.
The Rona.
The Rona. Andy's here. Luke's here. Speaking of, hope you're feeling better, sir. BK's here. Oh, and he's got a message for you, Colonel. He says, congratulations, Colonel. If Stafford wasn't in LA, I would absolutely be cheering for Joe Cool.
Well, thank you, BK. I'm hoping Stafford has one of those multiple games where he throws an interception. I want a blowout. I don't want a nail biter anymore.
Yeah.
They're all nail biters.
No, this is going to be a hell of a game, man. It's going to be so fucking close.
Shit. Stacy Lynn's here. Patricia's here. Peter Anthony. What's up, Peter? Congrats to Cincy.
Thank you, Peter.
No, Peter, what it is
We're going to the fucking Super Bowl!
I guess I should follow it up with a.
Yep.
We need a roaring crowd, like a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We need a Who Day recording.
Who Day?
Luke says, I'm $1 million now. Thanks.
Good.
Dave has a question for the Colonel also. Where is Colonel? A hotel room? He's in an undisclosed location.
I am in an undisclosed location, and I just kind of threw a couple things up on the wall with the nails already in there. I haven't had time to put the set back up yet. Hopefully by next Monday I'll have something.
What the hell is that Jason thing anyway? I don't think I've ever seen that before.
It's like a key holder, man. It's a little.
Oh, right.
Hey.
That's cool.
I like it.
I mean, if you wanted to tell the people, this is your opportunity.
Well, as you guys know, fuck it.
Some of
the past year and a half, I've been job hunting. I have a job. I've been house hunting. Because, my French overlord's like, fuck it, you have to live here. I'm like, well, I might as well enjoy this money I got and do something for my family. And, well, we did it. We found a house in the price range that I can afford. And that didn't get overbid on by like 20 fucking grand.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Was ridiculous, man. It's just.
Yeah, it was a long fucking search.
And no thanks to the fucking French overlord.
Ah, the French.
So Colonel is having one hell of a great week, man. So congrats.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
How was your week, Ziggy?
It was all right, man. It's colder than ass around here, but it did snow enough finally, so we got to go and break out the sleds at our local hill. We call Dead Man's Hill. It was pretty wild. I ate it epically on this little small sled that I probably had no business being on. I got some fucking air, man. I almost had my phone going, and I put it away at the last second, or I would have had some premium footage for tonight. But maybe next time. We're getting 14 inches over the next 2 days. So we'll see.
Yep.
But yeah, that was my week. I fucking tore out my ass cheek on the left side trying to stop the sled from going down the hill. I stomped on the rope. Man, it still hurts.
Damn.
Getting old sucks, dude.
Fun. That does not sound fun. Well, today was a lovely, sunny, beautiful 72 degrees. I woke up to a earthquake this morning, which is always the way I like to wake up when the bed is shaken. Normally, if it's from something else, but earthquake, I'll take it. It's been a while. So, and yeah, pretty much. Thank you, Colonel.
You're welcome.
But yeah, and a beautiful 72 degrees today, and then tomorrow we're supposed to start getting like somewhere between 7 and 12 inches of snow. So, yay, Oklahoma. It's wonderful. Yeah,
I saw that. It's the same system that's coming from you. It's going to hit me. It's that long.
It's hitting me too.
Yeah.
We're talking ours is freezing rain though, like ice. Like that's what our majority of our shit's going to be. Heavy rain, and freezing rain, and a little bit of snow at the tail end of it.
But then, of course, it starts. I had to get that in there. All right, got to take care of a little business here. Thanks to our members, our final girls, Corey, Chris, Lorena, Christy, S. Michael, Patricia, Tanya, and Tyrone. And then, of course, our Crazy Ralphs, Angelo and Raymond. And our camp counselors, Stacy Lynn, Orlando, Kiara, and Dave. Thank you guys for supporting the society. Going to do something a little new here.
Always be stepping on their applause, man.
Well, hush. Going to do something a little new here. Going to talk about a couple of new movies coming out this week. On Thursday, February 3rd, coming to Shudder is Slapface. I said Slapface.
And I'm sliding back up there.
Oh, a funny man. That's the matter with you.
Good Lord. Anyway, Slapface is about a boy who deals with the loss of his mother by creating a dangerous relationship with a monster rumored to live in the woods. I'll check it out. It's on Shudder. I already get Shudder. So, yeah, why not? Guys, anything to add?
Interesting, I guess. We'll see. Like most of these Shudder originals or exclusives, they're either hit or fucking miss. I mean, there's rarely any in between. So,
what a stupid fucking name! I'll say that.
Well, let's see what it does, what it means to the story.
Yeah. I don't see it. Kind of like Psycho Gorman, kind of. You know what I mean? Coming up with that name. Yeah.
Also coming out on Thursday on video on demand is Ghost of the Ozarks. In post-Civil War Arkansas, a young doctor is mysteriously summoned to a remote town in the Ozarks, only to discover that the utopian paradise is filled with secrets and surrounded by a menacing supernatural presence. Sounds kind of interesting, I guess.
Well, I'm a fan of the period pieces like that, so I mean, it's...
Yeah, I can get into those.
If they do it right, it could be good.
Yeah. As long as it's historically accurate, I'll be okay with the period piece.
Right.
We all know this.
That's true. He did tear apart.
It has slow burn written all over
it. Yes, it does. Speaking of slow burn written all over it, coming out Friday, February 4th Alone with You is in limited theaters and video on demand. As a young woman painstakingly prepares a romantic homecoming for her girlfriend, their apartment begins to feel more like a tomb when strange voices, shadows, and hallucinations reveal a truth she's been unwilling to face. Okay.
Face.
That one, I don't know. That one I'm not too into yet.
I went full blown Anchorman on that one when he was just reading the synopsis.
What? Also on Friday, Imminence. Radio astronomer. This is on video on demand also. Radio astronomers discover a mysterious signal in the deep sea that could be contact with extraterrestrials. After several terrifying manifestations threaten their beliefs, the team must fight to survive the ultimate evil. Oh, yeah. This one I'm a little more curious about because I like the sci-fi aspect of it, but we'll see.
Yeah, what's making the sound?
Yeah. And then finally, coming out on video on demand Friday is The Long Night from director Rich Ragsdale, who I hope will be showing up in here momentarily. He is scheduled to appear, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his previous film, Ghost House. Both of these films starring Scout Taylor Compton. Taylor. And should be fun. But The Long Night, while searching for the parents she's never known, Grace and her boyfriend return to her childhood stomping grounds in the South to investigate a promising lead on her family's whereabouts. Upon arrival, the couple's weekend takes a bizarre, terrifying turn as a nightmarish cult and its maniacal leader terrorize the pair en route to fulfilling an ancient apocalyptic prophecy. So that's The Long Night. And this one also stars Jeff Fahey coming back to horror a little bit. So
I like him, man. Like this, if you want to go way back, like the Lawnmower Man, a little more recently, Planet Terror. He's like the barbecue guy. He's fucking hilarious in it, man. His character's good. But it's great to see him popping back up in horror again.
Yes.
And I saw that clip where he takes a pretty violent exit. So, yes.
I have not seen that clip yet. I need to check that out, though. But we're going to check out the trailer for The Long Night here in a little bit and talk about that. And I want to look at some of these comments real quick before we do anything else. This one I wanted to mention because we may talk about this a little bit later. But Luke wants to know, anyone see the trailer for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Looks god-fucking awful.
I've seen stills, and that was enough for me to be like, I can wait.
I'll just say it didn't look as, I was actually seeing that trailer. I went, okay, I feel like this one you have to watch before you can really even, because it shows you some clips and stuff, but it doesn't give you any kind of plot or any fucking thing useful. So,
right.
Hey, it's Netflix, so whatever. It'll be easy to achieve and get to it and see it. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, but he looks like the Scarecrow from fucking Scary Stories Tell in the Dark, man.
Dude, it's been 50 years, man.
I'm talking about The Mask.
It was weird, man.
We need to see what's what. Like I said, I ain't going to say shit until I watch that one because I was exactly torn. Like, oh, this is going to be well, maybe not. Look at that. That's good. Then they got little clips of some possibly strong gore scenes in it. So I'm intrigued.
Here's hoping.
Right.
All right. As mentioned, The Long Night comes out on Friday. And we've got the director coming in to join us right now, Mr. Rich Ragsdale. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Howdy, guys.
Hey.
Where are you coming to us from tonight?
Venice Beach, California.
Nice.
Oh, nice. So no snow, no cold weather, no bullshit like that at all, huh?
No snow, no cold. I mean, it's cold for California, but no snow.
60s?
Maybe a little colder, but yeah.
Okay.
Chilly out.
Yeah, we were just talking before the show. We're all three about to get the same band of of cold and snow for the next like 3 or 4 days. So
Where are you guys?
I'm in Oklahoma. Ziggy is in
Detroit.
and Colonel is in
Cincinnati.
Nice.
Cincinnati. What?
Well, you know.
Not during the interview.
Who day, Cincinnati.
Who day? There, you got one. I'm trying to be professional here.
All right.
Coast.
So welcome to the show, sir. Thanks for joining us. And
Man, thank you for having me.
first off, obviously, we gotta get to know you. We don't know who the fuck you are. No offense. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you grew up, how you got interested in music and film, and some of your early work in the business, stuff like that.
So I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. So, I come from down south and kind of more East Coast like you guys. I got into the business actually as a composer. I wrote music for a lot of video games and TV shows and movies. And I kind of fell into making horror films by accident, and I love it. So I just decided to stick it out, and we have this one now. So I do a lot of music videos and stuff too, but I just want to do features really is my goal.
Right. What were you a fan of horror as a kid and growing up?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've loved horror movies since I can, remember. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, and so, growing up in Tennessee when I was little, we didn't have access to a lot of stuff like everybody has now. So it's like I used to have to watch everything on television. And, so I grew up with the stuff that they could show on TV as a little kid until we got our first couple of video stores and stuff.
Right.
and then it was off to the races, man.
Yeah.
But all
the discoveries begin at that point.
Yeah. So
the video store era was definitely a good boost for, I think, people of our age that just fell in love with horror in that time. So
totally. And I had a job in the tail end of high school working at a video store, and so I watched a lot of movies that way. So
now you and your brother Kevin, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You and your brother Kevin, what's the age difference between you two?
We're about a year and change apart, so we're very close. We grew up getting in all sorts of trouble together, and we love the same movies, we watch the same stuff. So and now we make movies together. So
yeah, that's really cool. Did you guys ever, when you were younger, like play with old video cameras and try to make your own little short movies in the backyard or whatever?
100%. Yeah, it was like cameras, like we used to just make these, like they were almost like anthology films. They didn't have any stories. It was just like us and our friends killing each other, and like just coming up with this many sort of like morbid ways to off each other, so I mean, I think. What's that?
Are there any of those early ideas that made it to short or a feature recently?
That's a good question. Probably subconsciously. I don't know if like consciously I'm trying to like channel all the like demented stuff you come up with when you're a kid, but I definitely I'm sure it's all just kind of floating around in there. So
I got you. By the way, anybody that's watching, if you have a question for Rich, throw it in the comments and we will get to it or try to get to it here in a little bit. One of your earlier credits came with composing music for the video game Alien vs. Predator, and then later its sequel. Can you tell us how you got involved with that? You mentioned you did some video game work, and that was, I think, one of the first ones.
Yeah, that was my first like full video game thing. I'd done a couple of little pieces for it doesn't exist anymore, but for Fox Interactive, and that's how I met those guys. But it's an interesting story. Is like when I was just starting out as a composer, and so all your friends are musicians and stuff, and I'm living here in LA, and I had scored my first movie, and it's just like a movie nobody's ever heard of, and not much happened with it, but they did have a screening on the Sony lot, which to me at the time was just very exciting. I'd never even been on the lot before, so it was like, oh, this is cool. And so they were like, well, we're worried we're not going to have enough people, so just invite whoever you want. I just invited all my friends who are all composers or performers, you know. And there was this one guy, he was in a band with a friend of mine. I didn't know him very well, but at the time he was a tester, a video game tester. And for some reason, the music in the film really struck him. Like he was real impressed with the music. So as he kind of worked his way up through the ranks there at Fox Interactive, when it came time, they were looking for a composer for a couple of things. And even though all our friends were composers, I was the guy he called. And it was just really because he saw this one movie I had scored and he liked it. And then that just led to job after job for Fox Interactive. Of course, they're not a company anymore, so that kind of dried up. But
Very cool. Colonel, I'll start with you. Do you have a question yet for the early years of Rich?
Yeah, so I'm going to jump away from the video games for a little bit because, you know, being a kid from the 90s,
yeah,
you know, didn't have YouTube. I had MTV for music videos. So what are some of your favorite music videos you may have directed?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, I've directed a ton of them, and like, I work with Sean Lennon a lot, John Lennon's son, and his girlfriend Charlotte. Yeah, so I've done a couple for them that they, you know, they're crazy, and so I mean, in the best possible way. So they kind of let you go nuts, and there's not like a lot of rules, you know, so you can really, you know, indulge your kind of weirder ideas. And recently I did a video for Sean, like in the last year or so, he has a band right now with Les Claypool from Primus.
Sausage Brigade, is that what it is? Or something else now, isn't it?
No, it's called the Claypool Lennon Delirium.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I did a video, an animated video. I did, you know, the whole thing. I did, you know, and it's just a very strange and wacky video. It's very funny. It's kind of done in like almost like a sort of Monty Python kind of animation style.
Nice.
And so that it's called Blood and Rockets. That's a favorite. And then, you know, there's some of these bands that I've done videos for that like Chevelle was a fun video to do.
Sometimes I saw you did that, and The Sword. That's another band that I'm into. You know, I'm into both of those guys. So yeah, man, those bands
that Sword one was pretty low budget, man, but it was so much fun, man. Those guys were great. It was the first time, you know, that like I'd been offered a job to do a music video for a band that I already liked.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was like, yeah, what do I got to pay you? I'll totally do it. And actually, just recently we did 2 videos for Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden, which is a band I grew up listening.
Oh,
So he's got a new band with Richie Kotzen.
Yes.
So I did 2 videos for them. My brother and I, we did 2 videos for the Smith Kotzen. So, and those guys are just, I mean, they couldn't be any cooler. And I've known Adrian for a little while, but you know, they're really, really great guys. So.
That's cool shit, man.
Yeah. Luke says Les Claypool is one of the best bass players of all time. Can't really disagree with that.
No argument.
And Dave wants to know what Chevelle video. He loves them.
It's called Door to Door Cannibals, and it was kind of an interesting thing. Like they hired me to do this video, and they kind of already had the basic idea of what they wanted to do in their mind, and so we didn't have a lot of time to put it together, but it came together pretty well. It's kind of like a horror movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of thing. You know, it's those guys were a lot of fun too. They were really cool. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and how did when you started doing some of these music videos, how did coming from a musician's background, did that change your idea for approaching music videos that you directed for other artists?
Well, you know, like he was saying, I grew up on MTV and stuff too. I loved music videos. So you know, to me, like music videos were half the fun of rock and roll, you know, so like they don't, so without MTV, it's a little different now, but I don't know. I don't know if it changed the way I thought about music videos other than like when I edit and when we put these things together, I try to like really think of like the structure of the song and make the action in the video really match the you know, the structure, so that like, because you know, like the videos that do that were like like you hit a chorus, like for example, there's in the Chevelle video, there's a moment where he screams and it's halfway through the song, and I cut in this like shot that we had done of this like crazy person screaming, and it just is one of these moments that matches, and so it's like a really powerful moment in the song. You get this really cool image. You kind of put those together. If you're smart about it, it really builds a trajectory. So
Nice.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, that answers it fine. And I mean, you bring up just random crazy people screaming. We have one of those. We have one of those guys that we have here on the show. We call him Lion-O. He pops up every now and then for no reason. It's the strangest thing.
He's one of my people. So
okay, well, good.
I mean, I live in Venice Beach, which is basically just populated with people like that. So
one of our fans sent a clip of that to us a long time ago, and we've been cutting him into other movies and stuff like that just for fun. So
awesome.
Now, Ziggy, did you have a question about the early career?
I'll stay with the videos for a minute. Like when you go into these, you said like they kind of Chevelle knew what they wanted to do, but are sometimes you're bringing the concept to them and saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing with this song, or how does that roll?
Yeah, it's kind of, usually it's like what happens is like my agent will send me a song, and they're looking for a director, and then it'll go out to probably like anywhere from 5 to 20 directors or whatever. And then you listen to the song, and, you have to kind of come up with a cool idea for the song, for the video. And then you have to also figure out how to articulate it and put it together with like pictures, like a mood board. And then you send it off, and, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And then sometimes like Chevelle, I think actually requested me because of some other videos I had done. And, but they had this idea. And so your job is really to kind of take these ideas that, like most rock guys aren't like filmmakers. So you have to kind of figure out how to make it into a story. And then there's always budget concerns and stuff. So it's like, it varies from band to band, like I'm doing one right now. I was actually working on it right before I logged in here. And it's like the artist already knew what they wanted. It was like, they wanted like like basically like Underworld or something, like vampires. And she wants to be the Celine from Underworld. So, my job was just to kind of make it happen. She already kind of had the story. I just had to kind of make it make sense,
All right. Well, after you did some of the work for the video games, we're going to kind of back up a little bit. You began writing and composing for some television series, including The King of Queens, The Ladies' Man, and According to Jim.
Yeah.
And I guess my question about that is, how did those projects kind of fit into your career roadmap at the time, and did that help lead you to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, oddly, in a weird sort of way, it totally did. And that, like, I have like, I grew up on horror movies, and I played in like punk and heavy metal bands when I was a kid and stuff. So it was like, it was kind of like I had this very dark aesthetic, and so I probably would have been voted like least likely to score a sitcom when I grew up. And I just kind of fell into this job. There was this composer named Jonathan Wolfe, who's probably best known he was the guy that made the music for Seinfeld. And he was looking for guys to come work for him. And a friend of mine got the job, and he recommended me, and I got a job working there. And then about a year later, I started writing music for some of his shows. And then I got my own shows. But
nice.
It was kind of like I just needed a job, and he gave me the job, and it was like a great job. I mean, it was like you're working on these big shows, and but the music itself was not really the kind of music I had sort of prepared myself to write. And that's why I was kind of, at the time, that's when I started doing the video games too, which was kind of a cool separate outlet. But, but it was great. I mean, it made, it made my career really. So I owe everything to Jonathan for, hiring me. But, and then, a weird thing happened. Because I was doing a lot of sitcoms, one of the things that happens when you're doing sitcoms is you get, especially at the time, this is the early 2000s, you get the summers off, because they all go on hiatus.
Right.
So you'd take 3 months off and you just kind of do whatever you wanted to do. Because it's you were leaving pilot season. It was a real grind, So I started studying photography and things like that. And that kind of led to me working on animation and doing some sort of filmmaking stuff. It was all super experimental. And it was just like in my bedroom editing this stuff that I was going out and shooting on like Super 8 or whatever. And this guy that I worked with, he was another composer, like a real talented guy named Paul Buckley. He'd asked me, he was trying to get the job scoring that HBO show Carnival. And so he was like, he had an inn over there, but it was a small inn. So he wanted to do something spectacular. So he was like, why don't you make like an animation or a little short film and I'll give you the music and you can kind of edit it to the music and, try to get the job. And so I did it and it turned out great, but he didn't get the job. And so then I had this thing that I did that I thought was really cool, but I didn't have any use for it. So I started sending it to film festivals just kind of on a whim. And it started winning awards and screening with movies by guys like Guy Madden and the Brothers Quay and stuff, people who I really liked. And I was just like, oh man, it was so much more fun than composing for sitcoms. I was like, I think I'm going to try this for a while. And then I just
was this Into Something Rich and Strange? Is that what you're talking about?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Something Rich and Strange. It was just this little like weird animated short film. It's all very circusy and odd and, shot all these, it's all very experimental. Like parts of it are shot on Polaroid film that are manipulated. It's just like a whole thing. Yeah, it was the best I could do at the time.
Okay. Well, after Into Something Rich and Strange, you kind of jumped into your first feature with The Curse of El Charo, and this one kind of also scored big on the festival circuit for a little bit. It seems like. Yeah. And that was in 2005. How did doing this independent feature film, did that change your perception of the business and what you wanted to do was leading into doing features?
Yeah. I mean, so like what happened with that was that like my brother actually had started a production company with another fella. And this was all sort of separate from what I was doing with the sitcoms and stuff. And then they wanted to make this like ultra low budget horror film, and they'd already made a couple of films, and this is kind of in the straight to video days, the DVD market and all that, and so they were like, this guy was going to make this like super low budget horror film. I think he was going to shoot it in Mexico, and it was based on an old Mexican myth, which is the El Charo thing, and then it went away, but they still had this idea to make this film, and they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was just like, sure, and they kind of, Kip's partner sort of rewrote the script very quickly, and we went into production and shot it, and made it for like next to nothing. And I mean, I had never worked with a crew. I didn't know anything about working with actors. It was a total like kind of baptism by fire kind of thing. Right. And I made a lot of mistakes and stuff, but it was kind of like film school for me. But the weird thing is that it got bought and distributed, and it was on like Showtime for forever, and Paramount put it out on DVD and stuff. And it was like this movie that, because kind of like I scored all these student films when I was in school, these filmmakers, and it's like, they have the luxury of nobody ever seeing it. It's like, it's like this thing that was like, I mean, I'm not ashamed of it. It was a fun thing to do, and it got me into this whole thing. And it was like, like I said, I made a lot of mistakes, and I just didn't know what I was doing, but I had a lot of great people around me. So we managed to make a film that we could sell, and it was, pretty good. We put Lenny in it,
Yeah.
I mean, he's in it for, if you blink, you miss him, but it's
right. But, well, I didn't get a chance to see that one. I looked for that one, but I couldn't find it on any kind of digital format.
Yeah, it's kind of fallen by the wayside, Like I said, it used to be on Showtime like all the goddamn time, but that's kind of ended. So
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about your. It seemed like that film, The Curse of El Charo, kind of led to you doing more of the music videos, and we kind of already talked about that. We did get a question. Where was it? Patricia wants to know, what project were you most excited to work on? That's a good one.
I mean, it's funny because like I'm sort of excited to work. Period. So if I'm working, I'm happy. I love doing this stuff. So it's like, it's a hard job. It's a lot harder than people think, but it's also the most fun job I've ever had, and I've worked every manner of shit job that you can imagine. So, but the most exciting thing I ever did was make the last film we made, which was Ghost House, the one before Long Night, and because it was like, it was a very low budget movie, but we shot it in Thailand, so it was like, and it's kind of like the dumbest idea in the world is to like, usually when you make a low budget horror movie, they're like, okay, we're gonna find a cabin out in the woods, and we're just gonna post it out there and shoot, around, and it's, and instead we were like, okay, we don't have a lot of money, but we're gonna fly all the way up to the other side of the world, and bang out this movie that's in a very tight schedule where you have a company move almost every day, which is nuts. It means like a new location almost every day. And, and if you don't make your day, you're screwed, because if you don't finish every single day, you can't come back. You can't come back to, there's not enough money to go fly back and reshoot stuff in Thailand. So it's like, it was a total thrill. The Thai people are the best, like so nice, and it's great food and a beautiful place, and you can kind of point the camera at anything and it looks good. And so that was thrilling. It was really it was so hard, the hardest thing I ever did, but it was so much fun.
It paid off. Once you and I spoke and we talked about having you come on the show, that was one of the first films I looked up and tried to find, and I enjoyed it. Honestly, I'll be honest, I hadn't really heard of it until you and I spoke. But I really kind of dug it. I like the vibe of it and the atmosphere that you have in that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. It did really well for us because it was also my brother and I produced it. So it was like, we needed it to do well or we were in trouble, so, and it's like, in the States, like you were saying, it didn't make a huge splash, but, internationally it did real well for us. Like we were the number 2 movie in Thailand. We were like number 1 in all over Southeast Asia, like in Vietnam and, Myanmar, places like that. We showed in Turkey, we showed in Egypt, we showed all over Europe. We did really well in Latin America. So it was like, it really got out there, and for the kind of budget that we had and the resources that we had, the movie did way better than it deserved to.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'm very happy. It was like, there's of course always going to be things you do differently, but I'm pretty stoked on how it turned out and that we actually managed to even finish it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been debating whether or not to really show this comment off, but I almost have to, because I think based on one of the scenes in Ghost House, you may appreciate or understand this. But Carrie says, "Sorry, Rich, I thought you were Jerry Horn, or at least the actor who played him from Twin Peaks when I first glanced at you."
Well, I love Twin Peaks, and David Lynch is my absolute hero, so I'll take it. So, yeah.
There's a scene. Where'd Ziggy go? Ziggy's internet must have bailed.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Ghost House. I believe it's when they go to the club to get. That seemed very Firewalk with Me inspired.
Oh, big time.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just in general, I've always loved movies that have like these kind of like weird song moments in them where, and like, if you ever see Curse of El Charo, there's a moment in that film that's very similar in that it's like a bar and there's a friend of mine who actually had cerebral palsy who was like singing this really aggressive, weird song. And it's the best scene in the whole film, you know? And that was the last day we shot in Thailand. And I remember just shooting that day and being like, this is, you know, I mean, I could make the whole movie like this and I'd be happy, you know?
Cool. Well, S. Michael says, Ghost House was actually scary. I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Patricia, excuse me a second. Patricia asked, Rich, you've had quite a diverse and interesting career. Is there anything in the future you would like to do that you haven't done before? That's a good one.
Well, you know, like really what I want to do is kind of continue on this line. And I feel like, you know, it's been a slow burn kind of getting to where I am now, but I feel like things are going well. And I just, you know, what I would really like to do is make a movie with a fairly big budget. I mean, that's the next step, is the kind of, I mean, I know that with a big budget, you just get big budget problems. Like when you make a low budget problem. So it's like, you know, but that's kind of the hope, is that, you know, that The Long Night does well enough that it leads to, you know, something, you know, bigger.
Right. Well, we are going to get to A Long Night, but I still have another question or two about Ghost House, and I want to get back to the Colonel here in a second. But the backstory of how you and your brother came up with the idea for Ghost House, I read about this in another interview from several years ago. I love that, and I was hoping you could retell that story for our audience.
Yeah, so, you know, my brother's wife is Thai, and they had a kid. And they were like, well, we're going to take the kid back to Thailand to meet the extended Thai family. I mean, she had a huge family in Thailand, a lot of relatives. And so, you know, they invited me and my girlfriend to come along. And so we flew over to Thailand. She'd never gone anywhere international like that before. So she was not prepared for the jet lag. And it really rocked her. So like, trying to get, you know, we were staying in this little town out in the jungle, and I was like, come on, get up, we got to go, you know, trying to get her to, you know, be awake while the sun's out, because we're basically on the exact opposite side of the world. So we went for a walk one day in the jungle. We'd only been there a day or two, and I'd been to Thailand once before for a film festival, but it was like one of the things I loved about Thailand were the ghost houses, these little spirit houses they put up where, you know, the idea is that spirits, your ancestors, or, you know, the spirits in the nearby area, they'll live in these little houses so that they don't live in your house or don't bother you. And you leave them offerings and all this kind of fun stuff. So we're wandering around through the jungle, and we come across this place on the side of the road where, for some reason, like, all the old ghost houses, when people were done with them, they just thrown them away in one spot. It was just like a ghost house graveyard. It was just all of these houses. And so she and I were like poking around and looking in them and taking things out of them and taking pictures and just, you know, being dumb tourists. And, you know, I was like, you know, we're leaving. I'm like, oh yeah. You know, it's like, we're in trouble now. And then I got back and I told my brother about it, and he's like, you know what, that's a good idea for a horror film. So we just put it in our back pocket. And that was the impetus, was the idea of these tourists go over to Thailand and mess with the wrong ghost house, you know.
Well, and I love that you mentioned, you know, dumb tourists, you know.
Yeah.
And I love the way you play with that dynamic with them in Thailand. And you know, because that's exactly the way I think a lot of Americans act when they go overseas, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's embarrassing, actually. It's like, you know, I've been to Thailand several times now because, you know, when the movie came out, we went for the premiere and all that stuff. And so we have lots of Thai friends. We're, you know, really good friends with all the crew and stuff. And so you kind of learn how to behave. And when I walk around Bangkok or something, it's just like, you know, it's like, I just don't want to see another American, you know. I'm just like, oh, God, you know.
Right. What's the old like like 50s or 60s joke, you know, those stupid Americans, you know,
Yeah,
the French guy always smoking a cigarette.
The ugly American, yeah.
The ugly Americans, get out of here, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I love the way you handled that with that film too. I thought that was very good. One more comment I want to throw up here is from Tyrone. He says, I did not realize that you did The Sandman, I think is what that says.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding job capturing German expressionism with this twisted silent masterpiece. There you go.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was sort of very in the early part of my career. I was especially, you know, when I first started making films, I was really obsessed with silent movies, and so I wanted to make one. And I made a little short film based on this E.T.A. Hoffman short story. He's a guy that sort of influenced Edgar Allan Poe, and it's called The Sandman. And it sort of also it influenced Sigmund Freud and all this. And so it was kind of this fun project to do, and it was very experimental. But I tried to really dial in that German expressionist vibe. I love that stuff so much.
Nice. Well, cool. Colonel, anything about the early career before we jump into The Long Night?
Before we jump to The Long Night, I want to jump into Ghost House. For one, thank you for confirming what I originally thought. I was like, man, there's no way they filmed this in Thailand on a low budget. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is really in Thailand. So
Yeah.
that was great. And also, obviously they loved it, but what was the initial impression of the Thai people of you know, making a movie based on these little ghost houses they have throughout? Yeah.
I mean, the movie did really well there. So I think that it did. I think they liked it. You know, I know the guys on the crew. They loved making the film. I mean, we had a real fun time making it. It was like a real like kind of family affair in a way. I mean, it's just like it was a small crew, relatively speaking, but very tight knit. And there was like a handful of English speakers. Actually, a good chunk of my crew was also Italian. I work with these Italians a lot here in LA. So I brought them with me because they're the best. And, but yeah, I mean, I think, it's hard to know exactly because I don't speak Thai. And so, you know, they might come out and tell you that you did a good job. And then, you know, behind your back are like, well, what the fuck was that movie? But, we opened at like number 2. The only movie that beat us was Annabelle, the Annabelle like Origins or whatever it was called, you know.
Creation.
Yeah, Creation. Yeah, so like we were up against that movie and it beat us, but we beat everything else.
I'll be honest with you, my honest opinion, I'd rather watch Ghost House over Annabelle Creation. I loved it. So
yeah,
he's not a huge fan of the Annabelle movies. So.
Oh man, you and I are going to be friends. So I'm kind of on the Annabelle movies. You know, it's just like they kind of miss me a little. I mean, first of all, I just like who would ever buy that doll for their kids? But you know, whatever.
I think the line from Child's Play fits that movie more than it did Child's Play. What an ugly fucking doll! You know, I wouldn't buy that for my kids.
Yeah, at least when Chucky started, he looks like a normal doll. You know, it's like once he gets all scarred and burnt and stuff, he looks a little more evil. But you know,
well, do you mind if we watch the trailer for The Long Night and maybe get some of the audience,
please,
audience participation on this? So here's the trailer coming out Friday, gang. The Long Night.
Just as a serpent sheds his skin, so must the world be cleansed of sin.
Mr. Caldwell, hello?
So that the next renewal can begin.
Smells like something died in you. Let's just get out of here. This whole thing is weird.
I don't know what it is about this house. I have to stay.
We release you, Lord Tana. We, the guardians of the long night, are your humble servants. Instruct us.
They were in my
Why are we really here?
For 5,000 years, the serpent has been the great equalizer, cleansing the evils of man from the world with his venom.
This ends now. What the hell do you want from me?
Don't you wish to be free of your pain?
Yes.
The long night begins.
Very interesting. Yeah. Now, it has Shudder there at the beginning. What's the tie with Shudder, if you can tell us yet?
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. I don't 100% know just yet. That was complete news to me when, I knew that Wellgo had picked it up for our North American distribution. I mean, I'm not a producer on this film, and it's not my production company. I was hired to make this movie, as opposed to say like Ghost House, which is a movie we decided to set out and decided to make. So it was like, I don't have any control over that end of it, the business side of it. But the people at Wellgo have been super cool to me. So far, so good. I assume that ultimately it'll end up at Shudder since they put the Shudder logo on it, but nobody's told me. They've been very tight-lipped about where it's going to be streaming. Right. I mean, Shudder to me is awesome. So it's like, Shudder, I'll be all over that,
Right. No, I didn't see it in Shudder's list of February releases. So
yeah,
I was kind of looking for it just to see for our interview, but
yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to ask about Scout Taylor Compton, who was in Ghost House, returns for this one. Is she your muse now? What's going on here? How's that working out?
I mean, I love Scout, man. I mean, Scout is awesome. I had never met Scout before Ghost House, and we have a mutual friend that's a casting director, and my brother and I put a list of actresses together to play to be in Ghost House, and she was on the top of our list, really. And we had a meeting with this casting director, and she was like, "Oh, I know Scout. Here, I'll just call her." And then, like a couple of days later, we had coffee with her, and she was awesome. And that was it. I mean, we just hired her, because we knew that she was good, and we were stoked that she would do it. And she loved Thailand. She had been once before, I think, or maybe twice. I don't know. She'd been before and loved Thailand, so it was kind of like a win-win. But I mean, she goes all in. I mean, she really works hard, and she's just completely dependable. And so when it came time to do this movie, there were like two directors on this film before me, and for some reason or another, they didn't stay. Matter of fact, the first one was the guy that wrote the original script.
Okay.
And I got hired to kind of come in. It's like they were going to shut down if they couldn't find a director. So I came in, and I just had like maybe 10 days to put the whole thing together. And I hired a writer that was a friend of mine, Rob Shep, who actually has written a sequel to Ghost House for us, which is something we're hoping to do. And Rob was rewriting the script as we were shooting the movie. And so there was not that much time to cast or anything. And so I was like, well, why don't we get Scout? Because we know she'll be great, and she was in England doing one of those horror conventions. So she actually flew straight from England to here, and to set rather. And got there like maybe 3 or 4 days before we started shooting.
Oh, wow.
So great friends, and she's like just solid. I mean, she just always does a good job. So
she is one of the sweetest people too. We've all met her at different conventions, and she's always nice. So
yeah, she's a great person. So
yeah,
lots
of accolades for the trailer. I will give this a viewing. Looks great. Nice build up of tension. That's from Luke. He says, "Damn, that looks awesome." Andy says, "That looks awesome." Jeremy, J-Man, what's up, J-Man? He says, "Oh, hell yeah." S. Michael, that looks pretty intense. Everyone's digging the trailer so far. So now make sure you watch it on Friday when it comes out.
Yes.
We'll remind you. Remind you. Don't worry. And S. Michael also says it'll be nice to hear Miss Taylor Compton screaming again.
She screams a lot in this one too. So
excellent.
Maybe more than she screams in Ghost House. So it's like.
Luke says, "Where can I watch it?" It'll be on video on demand. So I assume like places like Vudu, Apple TV, things like that.
Yeah, I actually think we're on the. If you go to Apple TV, we're on there, kind of like what's next, what's coming up next page. Okay. It's not that hard to find, I think.
Okay, excellent. Colonel, what do you got about The Long Night?
I'm really looking forward to it. Wow, like I said, Annabelle, we agree on that. This is up my alley. This is my shit here. You got the supernatural, you got skulls and snakes. Like looks like poor Scout gets possessed again. Maybe I'll have to watch the movie. I'll wait till Friday to find out for sure. But man, it looks intense.
Yeah, we're not going to get into any spoilers right now.
I'm trying to think of a question that isn't going to lead to any spoilers. So hopefully, maybe I can talk to you again after I see this movie off the air, because I'm sure I'm going to have questions.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to know what you guys think. I mean, like I said, I mean, it was kind of like we inherited this thing, and I had like a week to kind of redesign it and everything. Mm-hmm. Like the masks that had originally been designed, I didn't dig them, and so like I had somebody make new masks for us, and like kind of brought in a costume designer to make really cool outfits, and we had to kind of rework all the mythology and like we were talking about low budget movies, this is all pretty much takes place in one area, so it's like but there were a lot of resources that weren't being utilized in the original. There were like also like people have been trying to rewrite this script. There were like 3 different versions when I got there. They were all kind of a mess. So it was like, it was a messy thing, and we really worked hard to try and turn it into something cool. Right. And I mean, I think it's cool. We worked real hard on it. So,
well, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of moviegoers don't really understand is, how difficult it is for some movies to like go through that many changes and still be somewhat watchable at all. You know what I mean?
100%. I mean, because like I said, it was like this, basically they were like, you have this location, you have this basic idea that you have to kind of stick to, like a basic concept. And then, there was really not much money left at that point because there'd been a crew kind of waiting around to work for like a month, and they burned through a lot of money. And so it was like, like any, like the production design and stuff, like we had to kind of use what we had access to as opposed to like redoing everything and buying a bunch of new stuff. It was like, or renting a bunch of new stuff. So it was like, we ended up, like I said, we kind of gave it this like pagan kind of, woodsy folk horror kind of masks and stuff. Right. And so it was like, well, let's get a bunch of taxidermy. We're in the South. It's easy to find taxidermy. And we'll just use that for production design, and it'll be thematic, and it'll tie everything together, and it'll look cool. So,
yeah. Like I like the scene. I think they're in the bedroom in the trailer where the bear skin, I think, is on the wall behind her or something. So I was like, yep, that's South Carolina for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have family. My mother's side of the family is from South Carolina, so I'll be able to hopefully look at some of the surrounding sets and backgrounds and see if I see anything. Hopefully, it's not at Monk's Corner or anywhere around there, but somewhere a little bit nicer.
Yeah, we were in a place called Huger, which is like just outside of Charleston by about a half hour. So, we all kind of say Charleston is like shorthand, but we were out in the middle of nowhere. You can sort of tell from the trailer. I mean, it's just really, and that building that we shot in, that's the main location, is actually the oldest standing wooden structure in South Carolina. So it's older than the country, it's
wow.
Really, so it's got a lot of like vibe.
Wow.
Was it haunted?
Well, it's a good question. There are rumors that it is now, and a lot of the crew had to actually sleep there because there were like cabins and stuff. But they put me up in a hotel, so I didn't. I didn't see any anything. There were a lot of alligators running around, so it was haunted with alligators for sure.
Yeah, I'd rather deal with the ghost.
Yeah, the perks of being the director, though. I'll take the hotel room. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, man. Yes.
I'll be in Charleston while you guys are down here.
Exactly. Well, I mean, all the fun happens after you get done shooting, and I have to go by myself back to a hotel room. So it's like, you miss a lot of the kids.
That's true. Now, there is something inherently horrific about cults, and especially some cult leaders. Is that kind of what drew you to this film? I mean, just that subject matter?
Yeah, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. And it was kind of fun because we got to sort of make up our own cult on this, our own kind of mythology. So we based it on a bunch of, like, there's some Native American mythology. We kind of mixed a bunch of stuff together. There's kind of pagan stuff. There's even some guys, you can see them in the trailer. They have these like really tall hoods. They look kind of like Eastern European, like penitent guys, Easter penitents from the Orthodox Christian religion and stuff. So we were kind of pulling from all these different things so that all of these elements seem kind of familiar, but by putting them all together, hopefully it seems sort of unique at the same time, kind of like, so like you can believe these characters, but there's some originality to it.
Okay. And growing up in the South, were you able to kind of use some of your upbringing to identify with the characters and the surroundings?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a Southern boy at heart, and me and my brother both. And Kev, my brother's in this film. He's early on in the film. He plays kind of like a redneck gas station attendant in the vein of like kind of like Texas Chainsaw kind of guy. It's a short scene, but it's great, and he just made a meal out of it. And so, I remember we showed the film early on. We were trying to a couple of editors that actually work at Blumhouse, and we were like, hey, can you give us some advice, some notes? And they were like, well, the guy at the gas station's creepy enough. Just leave him as he is.
Nice.
So, I don't know. There's something very gothic about the South. There's a lot of, there's a lot of old time religion. So people really, this idea that people could be kind of caught up in these kind of cults and ideas like that seem realistic.
Yeah. I love, and it shows in the house that you chose, especially. I love the old architecture of the homes down there. Yeah. Especially in South Carolina. I remember when I would travel down there, I normally had a video camera with me. And I was always just leaned out the window watching the houses go by, just looking at those, because those were fascinating to me, even when I was a kid. So
100%. I mean, it's beautiful there. And like, I'm actually on one of my days off. I was just by myself, and I just went to downtown Charleston and went around to all the museums and the old buildings that you could kind of go into and stuff. I mean, it's just so much like texture and history, and it's a really great, interesting place to visit.
Yeah. Now, and I like the fact that you even mentioned the shorthand of Charleston is Charleston. Because that was my mom. She would speak. When we lived in Oklahoma and we were growing up, she would speak mostly normal. But anytime we were on a road trip back to the South, we'd hit that South Carolina state line, and it was like, oh, Lord have mercy, we're almost home. And I was like, good Lord, where did my mother go? What happened in the back seat? What the hell just happened?
It is kind of funny. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's amazing. And I've spoken to other people who have family down South, and they're like, my mom did the same thing, or my dad did the same thing.
Well, you get around, like half our crew were locals, and a couple of them had come out from LA. And so you get around the good old boys and stuff, and it just kind of starts bringing the Southern back out of you. It's like it's hard to, it's just like it never really goes away. So
Yep. Some of your crew ends up going back to LA, and they're talking like they're still in South Carolina, and people are just looking at them like, "What's wrong with you, son?"
Yeah, the ones that aren't Italian, but
right. There's a clash right there.
Yeah,
good old boys and the Italians. I'd like to see that.
No, but I mean, I try to foster like I like having everybody get along on set and be like, you try to kind of create as much of a family environment as you can. I don't buy into this kind of like the director is an asshole kind of thing, so people should, they should work hard, but they should be happy that, we're all together and stuff. So.
Sure. Now, Jeff Fahey is also in this, along with one of my favorites, Deborah Kara Unger. And I know they're probably not necessarily household names, but people are going to recognize them. And both of them are just outstanding actors. Deborah herself has just not done much that I have not really gotten into. So what was it like working with, not just like the established and somewhat well-known talent of Scout in Ghost House, but with these three in one kind of close-knit film?
Well, I mean, it's like both Jeff and Deborah got cast after we started shooting, so because like there just wasn't much time, and so that we had moved those days. Matter of fact, Deborah's day was the last day we shot, and I would get on the phone with the casting directors after we got done shooting, and we would talk names and stuff. They would, and when they brought up Deborah Kara Unger, I was like, well, do you think she'd do it? And they're like, yeah, she'll do it. I was just like, because, she's in that movie Crash, the David Cronenberg movie.
Right.
I know it's maybe not for everybody, but man, I love that movie. And I was just
she's intense in that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's such a great movie. I mean, it's a wacky movie, but man, I mean, she's so good in it. And so, yeah, I was so happy that we got Deborah. And Jeff was kind of the same way. It was just sort of like they were going down this list of names and seeing who's available. And we were getting pretty close to when we needed to shoot him. And they were like, hey, we got Jeff Fahey. And I was like, well, really? Okay, cool. And he is awesome to work with. I mean, he is like a machine. It's like a lot of actors kind of like him and Haw, and they ask you a lot of questions and they get kind of method and they brood around and stuff.
Right.
Which is cool if that's your process, But Jeff, man, he shows up and it's like a machine gun. It's like working with a machine gun. He just doesn't stop. It's like, you do a take and you'd be like, no, it's no good. Let's go again. Right away. And it's just like everybody's they kind of get set up again and just bam, 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 bam. We had all this to shoot with Jeff. We had a lot of stuff to shoot with in the time we had with him. And I thought there was one day I was like, we're not going to make our day, man. There's going to, and because of Jeff's like energy, we actually finished early. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that about him, and that he's one of those people that, rather than walking on set and then, like you said, hemming and hawing around with, some of the people we might know or some of the crew or cast or whatever, he just like walks up and he's like, where do you want me? Let's go. And I can see that about him. What did each of them, Jeff Fahey, Deborah Kara Unger, and Scout, what did they bring to the role that you may not have been expecting?
Well, the thing about Scout that is awesome is that, like, she requires very little direction. Like, she understands the genre, and like you guys have met her, she's very sweet, and this just comes through in her personality. And so she becomes a very sympathetic character regardless of how it's written. And so that's one of the things about Scout. I mean, it's like, I know that that's going to happen. That's almost why you cast her, and you just never sort of, you can't underestimate like how all in she is. I mean, she had to do some physical things in this movie that are pretty tough, and she was a trooper. So Deborah she showed up early, like several days before her scenes, and she just sat with the script the whole time and just was like going over it with like a fine-tooth comb. And like, you hear her voice in the trailer. I mean, she's got to deliver all that kind of ponderous sort of, mystical shit that can really come off hokey, and hopefully it does. And I don't think it does, but, and she just reworked it and was just kind of going over it. And so she, considering, she wasn't the lead and she wasn't like there for very long. She really put in the time and worked hard on, kind of getting this stuff together. And then Jeff, I had no idea what to expect. So I didn't have much expectation other than I knew he was good because you see him in all those movies. But
yeah,
he just showed up and his energy really was great.
Nice. Colonel, you got another question yet for Rich?
Trying to think again, can't do spoilers. I know it was obviously you mentioned multiple times, and I feel for you. You pretty much walked into a project that was not looking so good. Would you say you had? Again, I'm trying to think how to word this. Did you have any bad experiences that actually turned out to be good? Like kind of like, life gave you lemons, you made lemonade with it, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, that part of that is filmmaking is that like, some days go great and then some days just go to shit. And it's like you get into post and you're just like, oh man, but I have a very good editor, Jay Gartland, that I work with, and he and I just work super closely, and you shape those things together. But yeah, like, look, when I showed up and I got like, they were handing me all these different versions of the script, and they were just like, each one they handed me was worse than the last one. I was just like, oh God, man, I don't know. It's like, we got to hire somebody to fix this shit. So, I mean, it was like a rescue mission because this thing was going to fall apart, and it was like, there was not, like people been tinkering with stuff. I'm assuming the original script was good because it got greenlit, but I never really got to see that. I just got to see the versions that people were fucking with. So it was just kind of trying to figure out how to make something coherent and cool and entertaining, with this mess. And it, like, look, and it's pretty low budget and, small crew and, just trying to maximize everything. Cause I don't want it to look like a low budget movie, even if it is, I want it to feel as expansive as possible. So we tried, we do some weird shit. They let me do some weird shit. So we'll see what you guys think. I'm hoping,
definitely looking forward to it.
I'm hoping people like the weird stuff because that's where my heart is. But
as a horror fan, you have to like weird shit. I'm sorry,
yeah,
you have to. I mean, you just mentioned Cronenberg.
Yeah, totally.
I love Video Driven. That's one of the weirdest fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. But.
Yeah, he's a weird dude, and I love him.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like you see it sometimes in reviews, and people will be like, this movie's just, generic or whatever. And then, you do something that's weird and they're like, they could have just made a normal movie, So it's just,
right.
You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I think we tried to thread the needle here with like, it's not like so weird that it's like a David Lynch movie, but it's also not hopefully just like a straight,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the
spoilers.
hypocrisy of reviewers, I guess, is,
it's tough.
It's so layered. Not really.
Yeah, no, 100%, and then sometimes you see movies that like all the critics seem to love them, and then you go on IMDb and all the fans hate it. It's just like kind of a weird, it says, look, there's a weird business, really hard. So making a movie is very, very hard, but
yeah, well, you're gonna please one side and you're gonna piss off the other side every time. It doesn't matter what you do. So
I agree, and there are kind of like I feel like, I mean, this is a very general statement. There's kind of two kinds of like horror fans, like at least the vocal kind, that you hear online. It's like some guys really want the extreme, like just lots of gore and like slasher stuff. and which I love all that stuff, but then and some people want like more like slow burn, arty kind of horror, and these kind of two camps, and it's like you're never going to please both of them. So
right. Yeah, I like that. I like that meme that somebody put out a while back about, oh, I'm going to watch the new Ari Aster film, and then the shot below it is, yeah, I'm going to watch Slumber Party Massacre for the 50th time.
Yeah,
that's
Colonel. It's cracking me up the way you put that, Records, because you're like, oh, I'm the gore whore. I love the gore and this and that, and he's the slow burn guy. So you're right.
I am the slow.
Yeah. Well, I'll see which one of you guys likes this movie.
We are torn some of the times too. It's funny. We have some really good debates on here from time to time when we actually do review a movie. So. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, you just try. I mean, you don't want to set it. I mean, you don't make a movie just if you're trying to just kind of put all the Legos together to make something that you think everybody's going to like, everybody's going to hate it, or they're just going to be with it. It's not going to do much. So we tried some things. I hope you guys like it, man.
You got to take a risk, man. That's what it's all about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I also think that if you don't do something like a little different, then then it's just like nobody's going to care. It's like we don't need like another like Friday the 13th knockoff. As much as I love Friday the 13th movies, but yeah.
No, I'm with you though. Yeah,
Luke wants to know what were some of your favorite horror movies or favorite movies growing up. Maybe some that influenced you to get into filmmaking.
Well, it's weird because I have kind of like a bifurcated sensibility. I mean, I really love like weird art house kind of surrealist movies, and but I also love just horror movies. So like as a kid growing up, I mean, some of my favorite movies were like of course, the John Carpenter movies. Like Halloween and Escape from New York was probably one of my all-time favorites, and The Thing is maybe one of the greatest horror movies anybody's ever made. But I also one of my favorite movies of all time is Eraserhead, which is a very weird movie. And I think a lot of people don't like it and a lot of people love it. I mean, I think it's David Lynch's masterpiece, and he's made many great films, but never made a movie that good again, but I just grew up on movies like I think most people our age, it's just kind of like, movies were, that they were the thing, so it's like there's so many. I don't know. It's very hard to pinpoint one or two or three, because like I said, I mean, once I started like working in video stores and stuff, I discovered like silent movies and all these art house films and all that kind of stuff that I love. But again, I also, I like Mother's Day, it's like and Reanimator, it's like those are the I love those movies.
Yeah, you can't really help what you like, and especially I think a lot of it is definitely tied into like a nostalgia factor. What were you introduced to when you were younger?
Yeah.
We get that, especially when we recently went back and rewatched all the Scream films and reviewed the new Scream movie recently.
Yeah,
because anyone in their 20s and early 30s, most of them were just like, Scream's the greatest franchise of all time, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And we're in our 40s and mid 30s, and it's not. Clearly not.
I haven't talked to anybody that seemed to really dig it. That's just, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I've been a little busy, but
yeah. Well, let me ask you that then. What about what last year did you see that horror movie wise that you just really enjoyed?
Okay, well, here's a big time slow burn horror movie, but that I just loved last year was Saint Maud. Did you see that one? Man,
yep.
So good, man. So good. But then on the converse, one of the movies I ventured out to a movie theater to go see when the plague was raging or whatever was I saw Lamb which I didn't like much at all. I just was really bummed on that movie. You know, I had such high expectations. So
I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I think it's on something, one of my streaming services now that I can watch. So,
I mean, it's worth a watch. It's a cool movie, but it's a well-made movie, but I just thought it just was squandered like what could have been just an amazing movie. It could have, the movie that you wanted it to be, it was not. So, whereas, Saint Maud, I thought was one of the better horror films from last year.
Yeah, that was fascinating to watch. Just the performance alone is one of those. It's like that train wreck that you shouldn't be looking at, but you can't take your eyes off of it.
Well, and like almost all of those slow burn kind of horror movies, they have one thing in common I've noticed, which is that like it's all about like the last like 2 minutes of the movie. It's like if you don't stick that landing, then it's just not. It just the rest of the movie kind of falls. Even if it was like, and Lamb doesn't, for me, just the ending was like, meh. For Saint Maud, that ending just like blew my mind. I mean, no spoiler. Yeah. Holy crap, that was so good. And
that was a hot ending.
Yeah, there were some other. I'm blanking on them right now, but I saw like everybody, I watched a zillion things in lockdown, but I'm blanking on them all now.
Fair enough. If something comes to your mind here in the next couple of minutes,
Yeah. Well, what did you guys like from last year? Like
Colonel, what'd you like?
Oh,
I think your number one was Candyman, wasn't it?
My number one was Candyman, even though it could have been replaced, but I just thought the cinematography was fucking fantastic.
I loved Candyman. I thought it was great.
The cinematography, the score, when we did get gore, I thought it was great. I really liked Superhost, Jacob's Wife, some lower budget films I really liked last year. I found them way more entertaining, and the heart and soul was in it. So
you're right.
Yeah,
my number one, I think, was Last Night in Soho. I thought that was just fascinating to watch. I see a look of disagreement on your face.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that yet either. We were going to review it, and a bunch of stuff happened, and we didn't. And he's the only one of the three that's seen it. So that's definitely my must-watch list because I've heard great things about it.
Yeah. I hope when you do watch it, I hope you have a good sound system for your movies in your house, because that makes a lot of difference. I will say that much. The sound design in that movie, I can't believe there's one gimmick in it that I cannot believe has not been done before. I haven't seen it before, but it's so beautiful, and it's just like it pulls you in when that happens. It's just like you're sucked in. It's amazing.
He's a great film. So I'm sure it's a good movie. I mean, he hasn't really made too many bad films. So
yeah. And I think Ziggy's number one horror movie. By the way, his internet dumped out on him. This happens occasionally. He's in a bad part of Detroit. No, I'm just kidding.
It's that internet, we say.
Yeah.
But his number one movie, I believe, was Psycho Gorman, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Okay. That's a popular one right now. So
that's the varied structure of our dynamic together. Like he said, I'm the slow burn guy, and they're the gore hounds. So, when we first met, and they're talking about this movie Terrifier, I'm just like, man, there's no story in Terrifier, and they're like, that's what we love about it.
Did you see The Lodge, by the way?
I did. I love The Lodge. Yeah.
It was last year or the year before, but I liked that movie quite a bit too.
Man, I liked the first two acts. For whatever reason, the third act, that payoff, I just.
I mean, you have to really kind of buy it. I mean, that these kids are that smart, but that they could plan this well in advance. But I accept it, and I enjoyed that movie a lot. I really loved the sound in that movie, actually, and the music I thought was real cool.
Yeah. Colonel's actually the one that got me to watch it. He was just like, this one's definitely up your alley here.
Yeah.
So
I liked it. I thought it was quite good. So, it's The Long Night's not like that. The Long Night is I mean, it's got some atmospheric sections, but we try to move fast, you know, so it's not a slow burn movie, you know.
Okay.
So that's good. I mean, I don't hate slow burn movies like that. Like I love Midsummer. I thought that was a great film.
Great.
But then you got like The Lighthouse. I was really looking forward to that, and I'll be honest, I don't think I finished it. I was just like, I can't get into it, and I just had to turn it off.
I mean,
I really wanted to like it. I mean, Willem Dafoe. What the fuck? How, like,
you know,
I got a question.
Like fifth viewing of that movie, so it's like,
yeah. I got a question for you, Colonel. Have you seen Eraserhead that he mentioned earlier?
I have not.
I didn't think so.
I can look at the cover and I'm like, yeah, and I know of it, but I just haven't seen it. Sorry.
I think he would hate it. Personally, but
probably.
They also give me shit about Twin Peaks all the time because I will take every opportunity to bring Twin Peaks up. But
I love me some David Lynch, man. That's all there is to it. You know, it's like, but
he is an acquired taste. I understand, but
for sure, and it's definitely are not for everybody. But you know, for a guy that makes such weird movies, they do seem to resonate with a lot of people. You know, so more than most.
Right. And like I was saying earlier, you know, it depends on what you kind of grow up with. When Twin Peaks hit TV in 1990, I wasn't much of a sit at home and watch TV kind of guy. I was 15, 16. I was like, give me the goddamn keys. Let me get the fuck out of here. You know, but Thursday nights when that shit came on, fuck around. I'm home, you know, until they moved it to Saturday, until they moved it to Sunday and switched it all around. But good Lord, that sucked me in.
Well, you know, very quickly, like I said, I grew up like loving horror movies, and I bought this book at like Kmart or something when I was a little kid that was like an encyclopedia of horror kind of thing. And it had this 2-page spread on Eraserhead. I mean, the book was like an older book, and it was talking about how this is the face of new horror. This is what new horror is going to be about. And so I read it, and it just sounded so cool. I just couldn't, you know how like when you hear about these movies, especially when you're young and you just imagine this amazing thing, and then you finally see it and it's just, you know, it's like, whatever, it's a movie.
Right.
But it took me, I didn't see this movie until I was in my like mid-teens. Yeah, I finally found a copy at a video store and I watched it, and it just did not disappoint. It was better than I thought it would be. And And I, you know, growing up in Tennessee, like I said, I didn't have access to a lot of that kind of like weirdo cinema. So it was like, it was just a revelation. It was like, oh, movies can do this. So,
yeah, they can. Looks like Lorena agrees with you on Eraserhead. She says that's a great movie. It'll stick in your head. And whoa, she says David Lynch is a genius. Yeah. And then Andy comes in and says, and he makes sure you're made aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, not for everybody, you know.
Well, shut up, Andy.
I will say every shoot that I do, the very first day of no matter what it is, I have this Eraserhead shirt I've had since like almost maybe like college or something. It's just beat to shit. It's just like all full of holes, but I wear it on the first day of production because it's my good luck charm, you know, so.
Nice. Got to have one of those.
Yeah, sure. So if the Eraserhead shirt's on, it's going to go okay. I promise, you know.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all I've got for you. One last question I've got for you. Why has it been 5 years between the Ghost House and the Long Night?
Well, you know, it's a good question. I mean, Ghost House, you know, we were trying to get a sequel going, and we were, you know, doing pre-sales, and we were trying to develop another project that still is yet to go that I think would be the project that would, you know, be the thing I want to do the most, which, regardless, it was like, we were just working on trying to get a couple projects going, and we were, you know, when you're doing independent stuff, it can be kind of slow going, especially if you kind of want to do it right and, you know, try and raise enough money to do something that's good.
Right.
And then this kind of fell in my lap. And we actually shot it almost like 3 years ago at this point. And it was maybe 2.5 years ago, and then COVID hit. We're trying to finish this movie, and it just like everything screeched to a halt, and so I mean, it probably should have been done a year ago, but it got done when it got done. So
sure,
okay, what it is. Yes, it took a long time, but
Well, I'm anxious to see what you've got next, whether it be a sequel to Ghost House or this other project that you're talking about. I'm curious, man. You've got me convinced.
Okay, cool, man. Well, guys, I hope you guys dig the movie. I mean, I'm like I said, we worked hard on it, so
I'm looking forward to it. Colonel, you got a last question for him before we let him sneak out of here?
Not really just a question. I was going to say I'm sorry for not finding Ghost House sooner. Like I said, I just really enjoyed that film, man. Congratulations. Those typically aren't up my alley, but man, it was a good film. It really was. I enjoyed it a lot, and now I'm really looking forward to the long night. I'm hoping I get my toddler to bed at a decent time, so I can actually watch this Friday night, and hopefully the sound bar doesn't wake her up.
Oh, I keep telling you, man, Robitussin that chick.
Man, this is in the 70s when he's a kid. I'll get thrown in jail for that.
Yeah. It's a different time, man. It's a different.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Well, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on and spending some time with us and our crew out there that was also asking some questions. You can find Ghost House right now available to watch on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on Vudu and Tubi. I believe both of those for free with the ads right now. And then The Long Night comes out Friday on Video On Demand, and I'm going to check that out. And we may talk about it briefly next week. We don't know yet. We're not even sure what we're talking about next week yet, to be honest with you.
All I can say to you viewers out there when you watch the Ghost House, all right, just get on Vudu and just pay to rent it. Because I'm telling you, you're going to be so pissed every time the ad break pops in. Just pay the $3 and rent the damn movie.
It's on Amazon too, I think. So it was free on Amazon for a while. I don't know if it still is.
I don't think it is, but I'm probably going to end up buying it on Vudu at some point.
Okay.
Just to
awesome.
stick it in there.
I appreciate it, guys. I really do.
Yeah. Well, again, Rich, thanks for joining us, and best of luck on Friday and with whatever else you got coming on up in the future. And let us know what you do have coming up, especially if it fits the horror realm, and maybe we'll have you come back on and we'll chat again about that.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks again, man. We'll catch you next time. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Mr. Rich Ragsdale, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to him for coming on and spending some time with us. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to The Long Night, man.
I am too.
That looks cool as shit. Like I was getting Rob Zombie, Lords of Salem vibes, but I'm expecting a little bit better.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
I know how you feel about Rob Zombie. Come on.
I don't mind some Rob Zombie, but
Lords of Salem's a pretty good movie, man.
Lords of Salem isn't bad.
Sometimes I kind of fell out of it. I think this one, The Long Night, I think this one's one that grabs you is going to grab you.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. It looks like Carrie says, nice to meet you, Rich. Patricia, thanks for chatting, Rich. Yeah, and everyone's talking about going to look for it and check out the movie. And some are even talking about Eraserhead a little more. I'm sure he likes that too. Luke says, this is one of my favorite ones with a director, and I didn't even know his work. Yeah. That's part of what we do here. We want you to not necessarily know their work. We want to introduce you to some new stuff. So that's how this works, folks.
Like I said before, before we had him booked, I was like, "Oh, a Ghost House. I've never seen this."
Yeah,
and
I enjoy the hell out of it.
Happy I found it. It's a good movie.
Luke also says Lords of Salem is not a bad movie.
No. Kramer, I think it's a bad movie. I think it's a good movie, but there are a few dips and there are a few valleys watching the movie. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Andy says, Lords of Salem is Rob Zombie's attempt to make an art movie and all that would imply entail. I can actually see that a little bit. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, and FaZe says, did Ziggy lose connection? Yeah, his internet went out, so I don't know what happened to him. Actually, you know what? I bet. Dang it. Maybe this happened to him. See, Ziggy's not here. He can't defend himself tonight.
No, he can't. But yeah, his internet went out.
Yeah, I'm aware. He sent me a message.
Someone probably stole the fiber optic cables or some shit out of his internet. But I don't know. It's Detroit, man.
They don't make them with catalytic converters. I think they're safe there. Anyway, FaZe also goes on to say, damn, great interview, guys. These type of guests are always the best. Directors, writers, producers, whatever. Thanks for coming on the show, Rich. Yeah. I love doing the interviews. It takes me back to my old journalism days. So that's what I'm really digging about doing this show.
I like the interviews till it's time for me to ask a question because, like I said, I get too caught up in just sitting back watching the interview you have with them. So
yeah. Well, I try to take a cue from you. I try to wait until I see you do this kind of move, like, oh, I have an idea. Like, and yours is a lot more subtle than what I just did. But whenever I see your head kind of go up and to the side a little bit, I'm like, he's got a question, Colonel. And normally you do, but I kept seeing it out of the corner of my eye this time, and you were like,
well, I had questions.
What flavor of Wheaties do you like to eat? What? You know, that kind of.
Well, I have questions, but I didn't want to spoil anything. So it's like,
right.
Fuck, man.
I know. Maybe we'll have him on again after the movie, and we can spoil the shit out of it. Who knows?
Fair enough.
I doubt that, but maybe. We don't. All right. You want to wrap this up tonight?
I think we can. What are we doing next week?
Like I said, I'm not even sure. I was going to try to convince you guys to let's do our new thing.
There ain't no convincing. I'm down for that.
But I know, like, you guys also want to test it. And I'm almost to that point where I'm just like, let's just fucking go.
But to me, we already tested it. I never said any word about the word that we tested this months ago.
Well, I mean, we tested that.
Not to the extent that it is now. I mean, we tested the foundation of it. So I don't see why it'd be much different. Right. I know. I agree. I think maybe it's Ziggy that's being the stick in the mud about it then. So. And I like Luke, best in 1942. All right, Luke, name me 3 films for 42 off the top of your head without using Google. I won't do it. Right, off the top of your fucking head. No Google. Fuck you. Yeah. No. But yeah, I was hoping that we could do that. Well, you know me, I'll be working. You'll be with him at night, talk him into it. I'm down for it. All right. Just even if we gotta apply peer pressure. I can't really say right now what it is, but some of you might be lucky enough to be part of it. See what I did there? I'm still not even sure how we're going to pull this off, but I think we've got it figured out. We Ziggy and I talked about the logistics of it last week, so that's all good. But the keyword Ziggy and I don't know logistics of it. I don't know. You're just going to have to basically sit back and watch most of this first one. That's not going to be any fun. Well, I mean, you'll learn some of it, and then the next time you run it, or maybe you could be one of the things. I probably should be one of the things then, so that way I can watch and understand and still be involved. Okay, maybe we'll do that. What the hell can we be talking about? I don't know. And here's the funny thing. People think this might be like staged or
scripted in some way. No, we're literally we're trying to talk business in front of you guys without talking business, without giving shit up. Man, I say let's do it.
2 to 1. 2 to 1. It's a democracy.
Yeah, 2 to 1. Fuck him. He's got his vote. 2 to 1.
Yep. I'm
I'll start putting the rest of the graphics together then for it.
All right. Fuck yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Something brand new next week.
Yeah, and we will need some participation. So watch our page, and we may have a casting call of sorts.
Yeah, and do us a favor when we do it. Let's share the shit out of it. I know there's only like 12 of us, but let's fucking do it. I mean, I'm telling you, this is something nobody else is doing, and we need as many eyes on this as possible. For
chef's kiss.
Yeah. Fuck. I can't say anything.
I know, it's so fucking tough. Patricia's interested. New thing? Yes.
Indeed. see, I'm with Luke there. He says, I want to see more than 10 people on these videos. Yes. We need to pump those numbers up, baby.
We had 22, 23 earlier. So.
I saw that.
It didn't stay there.
All these fucking Dayglow fucking evil clowns can get like thousands of fucking views. There's a million of them. Fuck, man, we can at least get a couple hundred. That's all I'm saying.
We'll get there. I think this thing we're starting next week might be the next step. So, S. Michael wants to say, if it's a live reenactment of Rockula, I'm in.
We do owe S. Michael that Rockula review.
We do need to do a Rockula talk about in review or whatever. Maybe even a watch along. Maybe that can be a watch along coming up.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Luke says, let's get Super Bowl numbers. Yeah. If we can match the score of a Super Bowl, I'd be happy.
We got Super Bowl numbers. I would go into work tomorrow and say, hey, I put my 2 weeks in 3 weeks ago. Then I actually would be able to do this full time. Like I would love to do. So.
Well, we'll get there. Yeah, he'd have to tell off the French overlord.
The French.
Maybe I should just invade them from the west. See what happens. Might just let me go, not even put a fight.
All right. Don't even show up. Fuck them. All right. Send them out, Colonel.
Well, thanks for joining us for this awesome episode. Especially a huge shout out to Rick for coming on. Like you guys, I was not aware of much of his work. Holy shit. We should have been. Even just his music videos alone and composing for video games is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. Sorry I wasn't here last week, but I'm back, baby. Fingers crossed. I did not take my own advice. So, unlike the Colonel, don't get sick. Wash your dick. And don't smell like a Scuba Steve. Use Summer's Eve. Do as I say, not as I do.
God damn it. You should have washed your dick.
Damn time.
Oh, man. Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in and always joining us and bringing the smart questions, actually. I appreciate that you guys are smart horror fans and don't take things too seriously like some people do. Appreciate you guys for joining. We'll be back next week with something brand new, never before done on a horror YouTube show. And you might...
aware of.
That I'm aware of. That we're aware of. And you might... I think you guys will enjoy it. I think you guys will have fun. And I know I'm going to have fun with it. So, fuck yeah, let's do it. Woo! For the Colonel, this is Red Crank saying DCS out and also saying Who Day?
Who Day?
We'll see you next week. Later, gang. I'm not ready yet. I forgot. Ziggy's not here.
I was going to finish it. Who Day? Who Day? Who Day think going to beat them big? body.
Later.